Hey guys, we have a series of slate covers here that we've put in this field. And if you take a look down here, you'll see some slate that we have. This is just a type of artificial cover that we use. And we have a nice thick piece here, you know, that's about 1 inch thick. A spacer. And snakes can also go underneath here on the ground. And the spacer is to provide some space in there for the snakes to take cover. And the reason that we use slate, you don't have to use slate. You could use wood. You might just have old tarps or black plastic or old tin roofing from a barn. But we use slate because it holds the heat. It heats up pretty nicely during the day and then holds the heat. And we're in an area of the state here where we can get slate fairly easily. And so it heats up during the day, and then the snakes move in there for cover, and they also get heat at least during the first half of the night. They can get some heat from the slate overnight. And so we come through here and we check these things, and I've put some of these, I put a series of these out by my house just for the fun of it, to provide some snake habitat, and so I can show snakes to my granddaughter. And some schools have put out series of these covers so that they can do exercises and check for snakes, and maybe do some statistics on it and have some fun with the information, other than introducing the kids to the snakes and how to safely handle snakes and how not to be afraid of snakes. So it's really kind of a lot of fun, and you don't need a permit for this. You don't need any special permit for this, because you know, you can't trap a snake in there. You're not going to hurt anything. We like the thicker slate so that it doesn't break so easily when we're mowing out here, and if you accidentally hit something, it doesn't crush as much of the slate. So we come through periodically. The time to come through, by the way, is when the snakes are still under the cover. If you came through like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it was really warm out and sunny, these would be too hot and the snakes would already be gone. So if you check these in the morning, or maybe on a kind of a rainy day like today, you could do it at night, though I never have, but that would make sense. You could check them at night just to see what you have. We have a regular contributor who has just an old truck cap that he had out behind his house, and he was shooting, I think, for something like 5 different species. He was hoping that he could find 5 different species of snake under his truck cap. Here, let me think, we've seen 4 different species at this particular spot where we are now. We've got a little, this year's young, red-bellied snake here, and I want to show it to you so that you get an idea of how small they really are. And so this one was born sometime this summer. Red-bellied snakes give live birth, and who knows, maybe this snake was one of a litter of 6 or 7, something like that. But look at how tiny this is and how you could easily confuse that for a worm. And we'll turn it over. Well, we're seeing some red. It's not super bright here. I'll show you a good looking adult when we catch one. This is another baby red-bellied, born just this year. Probably about, well, what was the total on this? About, so it would translate to about maybe 3 inches long. Isn't that something? So at this particular site, because we're monitoring snakes, we have lots of these pairs of slates out here. We have 45 pairs of slates along the edge of this in another field. And there's always some of them that don't have any snakes under them, and that's going to happen. But it's kind of fun to just open them up. Nothing between the 2 slates. We have them all numbered, but of course you wouldn't have to. Whoop. There's a nice red-bellied snake in there. Now this is Vermont's smallest snake, the red-bellied. And this is not unusual. These are ant holes. And he was going to head down an ant hole, and he may actually overwinter in one of these ant holes. So I had to grab him before he headed down the ant hole. I'll hand this off to you. I want to show you that snake close up. It's such a pretty snake. That's poop. Don't do that at home. Yeah, you could do that. It's not going to hurt you any. Bright red belly. This is where the vent is. It's not unusual for them to release a little musk mixed in with a little bodily waste there. Smells, but it washes off. They come in a nice variety of colors, so they can be this dark brown, it could be a light brown, they could be black on the backside. And usually, and it's really hard to see in this one, but usually there's some lines on either side of the back, but this one it really doesn't show up too much. Maybe it would on another. And then on the head, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little light triangle in the center of the back of the head there, right in the neck. And there's also one on the side, and on the other side. So it has 3 of these little light triangles. And if you're not going to pick the snake up, that's what you're going to see. It's just those 3 triangles and either a black, a gray, or a tan body. But if you pick it up, then it becomes pretty clear. Red-bellied snake. And they never get any more than maybe 14 inches long. And they seem to be primarily an upland snake. They give live birth, so they can range to high elevations and way up into the Northeast Kingdom. So I think all of the upland forested towns in Vermont probably have these snakes. We're giving you a different view here of the same snake. So I think now the light's a little bit better, and you can see that triangle in the center of the neck, and you can also see the 2 dark stripes on the back. So it almost makes it look like it has a brown stripe down the center. And there's actually rows of black markings that create the impression of 2 dark stripes down the back. Harmless little snake, eats slugs, snails, worms, and like you saw, sometimes overwinters in ant hills, in ant tunnels. So here's another little red-bellied snake, and wanted you to see this one because that triangle or diamond on the back of the head shows up better on this snake. You know, it's better contrast. You can see the light spot on the side as well. There's another one on this side of the neck. So there's 3 of them. And then this one's a little lighter in color, I think, than the last one I showed you. You can see his stripes or the 2 rows of dark spots down the back. The bright red belly that gives it its name, red-bellied snake. This snake looks very similar to that red-bellied snake that you saw earlier, but notice no red belly. This is the Decay's brown snake, and it's fairly common in the Champlain Basin and other wet lowlands, but we're up here in the hills and it's not common at all up here in the hills. He's trying to hide his head. Notice that he has this dark spot on the top of his head. Usually they have dark here on the neck, this spot, dark here, which I call the sideburns, and dark just below the eye. And those are all good field marks. And it's pretty exciting for us to find this snake up here in the mountains. They didn't used to be here. maybe moving up as a result of climate change.
Can you show us the pattern on the back?
So it looks like, at first glance, that it has a whitish stripe down the back, but it's actually kind of a light brown, and that light brown is a little bit lighter than the brown you see on the sides. And these guys also have a checkerboard pattern similar to a garter snake. I'll stretch them out a little bit so you can see that better. See that checkerboard pattern? And you don't see that checkerboard pattern on red bellies. Over here too. So the common garter snake is really similar in appearance to the eastern ribbon snake, but the garter snake is by far the most common snake in the Northeast, and the one you're most likely to find, the one you're most familiar with. Though a lot of people say it wrong, they say Garden or they say Gardener, which is actually Garter, named after the garters that men used to use to hold their socks up before elastic. But notice on the garter snake, get them rearranged a little bit, that is a greenish brown head. And I'm going to try to turn him a little bit, get him back into position. And you can see what kind of looks like what I call yellow ear spots on each side where the ears would be. They don't have ears, and that it can be really helpful because ribbon snakes don't have those ear spots. They have a reddish brown head, and then under that reddish brown there's a black line that separates the reddish brown from a bright white lip. And you'll notice this lip is kind of creamy yellow. It's not bright white, and that bright white really shows up. So yellowish ear spots. There's not a nice separating line. This one has a greenish head as opposed to a reddish head. And the ribbon snake also has in front of the eye a vertical bar, a white vertical bar that this one does not have. But the ribbon snake's much rarer. It's a lowland species found near wetlands. This is the common one. Common garter snake.